All right, so let's define what exactly is reportable GFP. Next, okay. And how is it defined? Well, there are two types of reportable GFP. One is serially managed, and one is non-serially managed. And a distinction must be made between the two. A serialized item is an item that DoD may use to control different items within the registry. And even though an item may have been serialized by a manufacturer, DoD may not manage that item by means of its serial number. But the DoD and it's the government who determines it. And how do they do that? They do this by identifying it within your contract under the Government Furnished Property Schedule attachment. If you're not familiar with the attachments in the contract, you should take a look at your contract to become familiar, because they become more and more important in the aspect of what is or what isn't serialized. Some examples of items that are managed individually are special tooling, special test equipment, your equipment, and they're inherently tracked as individual items. Other examples are aircraft engines or engines that need to track hours of use, items that are repairables, hazardous items or highly controlled items such as guns or auxiliary power units or radios. Let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, so in the DFARS clause 252.211.7007, the definition of serially managed is included, and it states that it means it's an item designated by DoD to be uniquely tracked, controlled, or managed in maintenance, repair, and/or supply systems by means of its serial number. This is probably one of the most misunderstood areas in IUID. Contractors do not determine if an item is serially managed. It is the government's call. GFP reporting is driven by the scheduled GFP attachment in the contract, and if there is a requisition attachment in the GFP listing, which would be your MILSTRIP items, that too would be your reportable items. And it's important to note that the property as subcontractors must be reported also, and any changes in status, mark, custody, condition code for repairables only, or disposition of items that are received by the contractor, delivered or shipped from the contractor's plant under government instructions, except when the shipment is to a subcontractor or other location of the contract. So you don't report those changes, just the changes that where you lose actual contractual custody of them. Consumed or expended reasonably or properly or otherwise accounted for in the performance of the contract as determined by the Government Property Administrator, including reasonable inventory adjustments, or if it's been disposed of. If it's transferred to a follow-on contract, that too is a reportable event. Two of the e-tools from DCMA are exceptions. PCARs and loss reports that are reported through that system, those systems, will be reported to the registry through the system. Contract transfers will definitely require updating the IUID registry. So even if you put it in PCARs as a contract transfer, you may get okay to have the contract transfer. However, it will not update the registry. You need both the losing and gaining contract modifications in order for that to happen.